gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I'm your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, he's all about spoons, Sweet Sean Zakovacs from the internet.
I also have a pet eagle, but his name is Chuck.
And he's not crying, he's just exercising his face, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear who's growing ever more interested in obtaining a pet eagle. Tell me more, Sean.
Who doesn't want a pet eagle, especially if you're going to have one that's as well as behaved as the one in this show and gives you hugs? Who doesn't want to hug an eagle? Oh my God!
The first thing you got to keep in mind, Bruce, is that it's you want to call it falconry, but it's actually eaglery.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Don't be so eager to eagle it up. I don't know. I tried. Anyways, welcome back, everybody.
You just completely pulled the chute on that joke before you even finished it. What are you doing?
I was not happy with it. I was just like, it's a 4.5.
I see a big red light flashing on his desk, telling him stop now before you hurt somebody.
Oh no! I'm gonna hit the ground.
Pull the emergency brake on that one, everybody, because last week was a big break. All of a sudden, people are emailing us going, is my podcasting stuff broken? What's going on? Why do I have no shows from you guys?
You have two choices. All of technology failed for an hour, or we didn't put out an episode, and they're defaulting to what I consider to be the less likely option.
You mean these multi-billion-dollar companies aren't the ones that are screwing up? No.
Go back to the Apple store and demand a refund for your phone.
Give me my HMP refund, please. But no, I was sick with the Rona last week. If you want to hear the entire tale of that, check out our Patreon and stuff. But we're back this week, and I want to just say again, thank you to everyone who sent messages from everything: Twitter, Facebook, all the Patreon people that have been really, really nice to us, saying, "Hey, don't worry about it. Be able to skip a week and get better." And so I'm feeling much, much better now, and we're back on the road. So I don't like missing shows. I just don't like it. I don't like it at all. But I'm very, very happy to be back now and stuff. And hey, we got Peacemaker to talk about this week, everybody. It is out on the first 3 episodes dropped on HBO. We'll be talking about the first 2 mostly because Bruce didn't get a chance to watch the 3rd one, but we'll tease him with what's kind of coming up and everything. But before we do that, we do want to say a big thank you again to all those people that support the show over at patreon.com/HMP. Doesn't matter what level that you join up at. You get pre-show, post-show, Dinger Zone, huge Dinger Zone this week where we answered a ton of questions from you guys, and we'll probably be doing some more of that coming up as well. So if there's some HMP questions that you've always wanted to, if you've got something chomping at the bit, we can possibly answer that question if it's a good one. We want good ones. So thank you to all those guys. I do want to say thank you to Noah, who actually jumped up his pledge from $5 to $20. So Noah, thanks for that, buddy. We really appreciate it. And this one might be a little bit tough for me because it is a little bit long, and I think he knows that I read emails and stuff. But let's do this.
Bale's here.
This one comes to us from our buddy Dave Fakeloni. Dave writes in, "Brethren, how are you? Good? Good for me too. I'm okay. I'm lying. I'm not okay. I'm vexed. In my iTunes review of HMP, I referred to Bruce as bringing a certain gravitas to the show. When Bruce suggested that his name be changed to Gravitas, I was left abashed. It seems it shames me to admit, but I did not know the frequency with which he had been so accoladed." See, like I said, it feels like this whole thing was written to screw me up. It made me feel like I am like other people, which I do not like because other people suck. But not you 3. You guys are great. Whew, nice save, Fake Loney. High five. So I hereby rescind my above mentioned description of Bruce and replace it with Bruce is the show's. This is where it's messing with me. Is epistemologist of
Don't ask me
modern
what that
myth.
means. I'm no good with words.
Oh, good. Okay, because he did mention how you would probably be like, I know what that means. And now the reason for my email. In a previous correspondence, it might have seemed in my jest that I was venting to slight Sean which is some straight up nonsense. I once heard Sean say that he was not funny. I don't know that he could have ever said that. That doesn't sound right. I believe he actually said none of you were funny, but I take umbrage that he included himself. In my response, I say to you, Sean, in the nicest way possible, you are a filthy liar. Mr. Kovacs, you, sir, are a funny man. Yours is an agile brain, and your agility is comedy. You make me laugh every time. Guffaw, even. No kidding. Sometimes when you're not co-hosting, I don't even bother listening to that week's episode. Please don't tell Adam and Bruce. I'll be mortified.
Oops, let that cat out of the bag.
To sweet Shanzi from the internet, for all you do and the mirth that you bring, I shall raise my quill in humble salute to thee. Highest regards, but not high enough to require donating to Patreon. Dave Fake Loney.
I love it.
Which is a psych out because Dave Fake Loney has actually joined us on Patreon at the amount of $20. So thank you, Dave Fake Loney, for that, buddy. We really appreciate it.
I cannot state this enough. I am not Dave Fake Loney. For people who think that I wrote that, I did not. That I did not write that.
We would no, see, he wouldn't. I've known the man long enough. I don't think that he would actually write that himself. So
I just hope that that he got a good chuckle at my epistemology joke.
Bruce would laugh. Bruce would probably say that. Bruce would probably write his own thing, but not Sean. So if you would like to support us like Dave Fake Loney and all the others that support us over at patreon.com/HMP, which include Noah that jumped up to $20 this week, patreon.com/HMP, pre-show, post-show, Digger Zone, links are in the show notes and all that kind of good stuff. Well, that's it for that little section, everybody. Let's get into it.
It's been a minute, hasn't it, Adam?
It has. Let's get into the trailer for Peacemaker.
All right, kids, and that's how I defeated one of the world's most dangerous villains with only my 2 fists. My Desert Eagle and 2 rocket launchers. Eat peace, motherfuckers! Any questions?
Have you met Wonder Woman?
She did spend an entire party IFing me from across the room.
Sick.
Dude, I said effing. Hey! All right!
Peacemaker, I was hesitant to bring you onto this team. But right now, the world needs a son of a bitch. And you're the only one I got.
You know, you don't have to call me Peacemaker. You can call me Chris.
Just because you're handsome doesn't mean you're not a piece of shit.
Think I'm handsome?
Oh my God.
Okay.
This task force doesn't officially exist.
You want to do this job? You can't ever.
Listen, I can help. I'm stellar with weapons in combat.
You don't have to shoot people after I already killed them.
Right.
Game day, bitches!
Aren't you guys being a little nonchalant about all this?
Are you insinuating there is a wrong time and a right time to rock? Yeah!
You don't understand what we're up against.
We need every hand on deck.
Is that an eagle?
It's Eagle, my sidekick.
My asshole! What's wrong with your bird?
Such a good, handsome boy.
Dude, we're saving the world. It's everything we've ever wanted. Dude!
Yeah!
Tell me what you know.
I'm telling you shit.
How do you like that?
I like it. I like it a lot. I don't give a f.
What?
Give it all you got. Hey, don't worry. I'm not giving this guy anything.
Maybe you could just give him a little.
Hey, Sweet Cheeks, can you take my order real quick?
Seriously, dude.
She had cherubic cheeks. It's a compliment. Sweet Cheeks is your butt. No, it's not.
It is. It's like calling somebody, I don't know, sugar. It's
Totally inappropriate. Are way too big to be sugar. Sugar are like smaller, perkier. It's like yours. Technically, I think you may have sugar too, but somehow that also feels inappropriate.
Alrighty, that was the trailer for Peacemaker. Fun for the whole family, I say. But you know what time it is.
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
We discussed this on Patreon. Bruce spent a long time on this comic book connection. Let's have it.
Well, I may not have mentioned this before, but I consider myself somewhat of a Watchmen fan.
What?
And I'd like to talk a little bit about the comedian, also known as Edward Blake, The comedian has been portrayed on screen by Jeffrey Dean Morgan as a guy who seems strangely ageless. And if you've read Watchmen, you know the story starts with the comedian's murder. Now, originally, the idea that would become Watchmen started with Alan Moore imagining Archie comic superhero The Shield washing up on shore, dead of course, but for whatever reason, the opportunity to revolutionize comic storytelling never came up with the publishers of Archie. But since Moore was working with DC, and the two were still in one another's good graces, a different opportunity came up. DC acquired the rights to the Charlton Comics pantheon of heroes. And instead of The Shield, Moore decided that the perfect murder to throw his story into motion would be Peacemaker. Now, of course, DC had Moore switch his Charlton characters to new ones, and Peacemaker became the comedian. But why would he choose to kill Peacemaker? Let's start at the beginning. Peacemaker first appeared in a comic called Fightin' 5 in 1966, exactly one issue before that comic was canceled. Coincidence? Maybe. Peacemaker's origin story is either ridiculously stupid or fascinatingly genius, depending on whether or not Joe Gill and Pat Boyette were self-aware of what they were doing, in a Peter Verhoeven sort of way. Now, the deal with Peacemaker is that he's a pacifist diplomat so committed to peace that he will use violence to get it. Sounds crazy, right? Well, it gets crazier. Like literally mental health issues pop up in Peacemaker. It turns out he has such a dichotomous approach to life because he was deeply traumatized as a child, because his father just happened to be a Nazi death camp commandant. Can you imagine? So, that kind of thing takes a toll on a kid. You know how Polka Dot Man sees his mother everywhere in the Suicide Squad film? Well, in the comics, that's kind of how things go between Peacemaker and his father. He believes his father's spirit haunts him continually and criticizes his every move. And as Peacemaker's quest for peace grows deadlier, he begins to believe that the ghosts of the people he killed or who were killed in his vicinity are collected inside his helmet and can offer him advice. And as great as the idea of a hypercritical ghost father sounds on paper, I think a hypercritical racist father who's still alive works better for a live action show. And if we're lucky, maybe White Dragon will die this season, and some kind of AI will be activated in Peacemaker's helmet and start criticizing John Cena's every decision. And when I say that, I don't mean in the context of the show. I mean an elaborate practical joke that James Gunn plays on John Cena, in which the helmet actually takes digs at Cena's creative choices. Like, yeah, how do you feel knowing that Daddy's Home Part 2 is the best movie you'll ever be in, buddy? How do you feel about that? So, maybe he'll just do that until the big guy's driven insane. And speaking of insanity, Adam, do you have a list?
Yes, if that comic connection wasn't enough, let me sell everybody on this Super for Kids HBO program here, because this boy's got everything. We got tighty whities, crazy gunplay, wide-angle drone shots, beard dye, discount snake eyes, James Gunn showing us how hot his lady is, a bald eagle with a personality that puts Bruce to shame, TARDIS house, an 80s hair metal, racism, tasty, stitches, falling, the Mandela effect, butterflies, and a little karate man. This show's got everything.
Actually, I think it's judo.
No, listen, any kind of martial arts is always called a karate man.
No, you said a little karate because the guy's 4'2", right?
Yeah, he's a little gentleman.
He's very small.
He shows up in episode 3. Bruce hasn't quite gotten the.
No, I've seen the first half of episode 3. I just had to get in the car before I could finish it.
Fair enough. You didn't watch it on the road? Talk about not American. What's wrong with you?
I had an interview. I couldn't exactly watch it during that.
You can if you're rude.
So I don't know about you guys, but when this was first announced, I was very nonplussed. Not me, what that actual word means. I wasn't rooting against it. I wasn't for it. I was just completely middle of the road on this thing. And then, on a flyer over the weekend, I was like, what, I'll check this out. And it is amazing. It is exactly who James Gunn is, right? It's that thing where I think weirdly, like we're getting used to what James Gunn voice is like in movies and things like that. And this weirdly, it feels like the most James Gunn any property has been. And it's so sure-handed there are a lot of things in the show where I find myself saying, what? And it works. Everything works. It is ridiculous. The music is terrible on purpose. I was sold on this show when they go to the opening number, the opening dance number that is in every episode of the show. And as I was saying off mic earlier, I listened to an interview with James Gunn, and this was part of it from the beginning. He wanted there to be a dance number. He wanted everyone to look very serious as they were dancing. And he, with the help of, believe it or not, Alan Tudyk's wife, choreographed this opening, the opening dance number that we see every week. And here's the kicker. James Gunn and Alan Tudyk are friends, but he did not know Alan Tudyk's wife was his choreographer.
That sounds like something I would find myself in.
After he hired her. He had hired her already, and then Alan Tudyk called him.
Huh.
Just incredible happenstance. And we'll get into it more because I feel like I'm monopolizing the conversation here, but this was such a joy to watch, and a surprising one. I did not expect, because Peacemaker meant nothing to me in the Suicide Squad movie. He was fine, but he wasn't. I mean, you guys know Polka Dot Man was my favorite character in that movie, and so to have this character who there's 13 other people we could have seen, and instead you're making a Peacemaker show. And now I totally understand why he chose this.
And my memory may not be perfect on the matter. I'd have to go back and listen to the Suicide Squad episode, but I feel like I was the only one who was looking forward to this standalone Peacemaker series, because I was pretty excited about it. And that's when we decided James Gunn was my guy. I remember that conversation.
I think with me, I remember all the build up to James Gunn's Suicide Squad and everything, and you just heard so many people just talking about Peacemaker and how this was going to be the character that kind of brings down the house and everything. And unfortunately, I believe that James Gunn actually has a decent amount of sway when it comes to a lot of his trailers and stuff, from what he's kind of said and kind of implied sometimes. It felt like we got all of his lines and I didn't watch a ton of those trailers, but it felt like we got all of the big shiny moments and stuff shown in the trailers. So once you see the movie and everything, it's like, okay, I mean, I thought we were going to get some real wild and crazy and out of the box kind of stuff. So when it happened, it was like, all right, whatever. I mean, it was fine. And I like the movie overall, but I just didn't think that, especially for that particular character, that it reached the heights that we were kind of promised in a way. And so when they said, okay, we're going to do a Peacemaker television show, then my thought was, well, maybe we'll finally get what it felt like they were hinting at for the Suicide Squad movie. And I can say, I think they were more excited about this than they were, and that was what was kind of in their mind of you guys are going to love Peacemaker.
Well, when you say they, I think that you mean specifically James Gunn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who else would know much about this other than him and Cena.
And I'll tell you that just watching this versus watching the Suicide Squad, and I really like the Suicide Squad movie. I've seen it multiple times since we reviewed it on the show. This is the thing that you can tell is the thing that Gunn has more love for. Mm-hmm. He is so in the bag for this character, for this show. And if I can again, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is this his first television series? I think this is his first serial project.
I would think that he's probably been on a writing staff or two, just because that's where he made his money for so long, okay. Especially in the early 2000s. Yeah, this is me not looking at his IMDb, but I'm going to guess that he did.
A couple here and there. Looks like, well, no, that was technically YouTube, the PG porn thing that he did early. So no real TV shows for the most part. Yeah, that's wild.
That's surprising, because comedy writers write for everybody
That was directing actually, so he may have done some writing. I'll check on that.
I would think so. And this is going to make so much sense when I bring this up. But one of the things that just blew me away in that interview that I heard with him is that what Peacemaker is to him is when he was a child and he saw the 70s Captain America movie. That is what this is. It is James Gunn's version of 1970s Captain America.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that just perfect and exactly what this show is? I mean, it is exactly.
Because he's kind of like your Reb Brown sort of character, this, athlete and everything that's turned actor and stuff. And yeah.
Well, he even says to the terrible interviewer at the time, he's like, me saying this to you is going to make you want to watch these Captain America movies. Don't, they're awful. But what he wants is the thrill he got as a child watching those movies. And I just thought that is just completely fascinating. And that is exactly what this show really is. That's the level of what this show is, like the tech and, there's a stupid car in a van. And that's exactly what this show is.
Yeah, it's like there's no reason that in this suburban neighborhood we'll have, this underground layer with 25-foot ceilings and some more gear that you can ever possibly imagine. It's just like, oh yeah, of course that's what's in the guy's house. Why not?
And that's what makes the show work is that, right out of the gate, what you're getting basically from the dance number. What the show is. He has a pet eagle that hugs him. I mean, this is what the show is. And then there's also incredible bloody violence. And there's also the most base humor you'll ever see in a television show.
And Robert Patrick's hairstyle is perfection here.
It really, I will tell you also, when I saw that he was going to play his dad in this, I literally turned to the lady and I said, we're going to see Robert Patrick just chewing up some scenery here. And it really hasn't happened yet. He's been playing it totally understated. I think he's letting the hair do most of his acting for him.
The hair and the kind of jaundicey looking eyes where it's always just like a little yellow and you're just like, is this man sick?
And I thought the way they dealt with his dad was a great way to update. I mean, because obviously it's the year 2022, so his father couldn't have been a Nazi death camp guard, but they picked a great way to hold on to the sentiment of that character of his father that tormented him and update it for, modern times. I think it worked great because I didn't know how they were going to deal with it. I thought they were going to I was stupid to think James Gunn would use a kid glove on something, but I thought they might have a softer touch than they did with that.
No,
there's also the added wrinkle in this show where his dad is the one making his tech for him.
Yes.
So a neo-Nazi is making your tech for you. It's there again. It's this is one of those things where, yeah, that makes sense. Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Like any other show, I would be like, are you kidding me? But in this, everything fits.
Absolutely.
The fear that I have of this is that if this show is a monster, which I have every reason to believe it will be, I think that this show is eventually everyone is going to find this thing. Is that there's going to be the thing that happens with every writer director who has a heavy hand. It's happened with people with Tarantino. It happens with the writer director of French Dispatch and Royal Tenenbaums and that guy
Wes Anderson.
It even happens. It even happens with people like Hitchcock, where what, I'm getting kind of tired of his shtick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to happen eventually with James Gunn. I just don't think that the rest of the world has caught up to him yet. I think it's coming, but I think it might happen with this show. And so what my fear is that 2 years from now, there's going to be people who are like, I'm really tired of James Gunn, the way he makes everything, it all looks the same. And it doesn't. He's the guy who wrote Scooby-Doo, for God's sake. Like his stuff is completely different from thing to thing to thing.
Yeah.
And, listening to him speak, one of the things that I found really interesting is that he compared John Cena to Chris Pratt in these terms, that you can give Chris Pratt or you can give John Cena something, and they will level up what you are giving them to do. Like, they're all in all the time. They just want to do the best work they can possibly do. And I kind of expected that with John Cena, but I didn't expect that with Chris Pratt.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, boy, watch any of those Parks and Rec outtakes and stuff where he is just like jamming in jokes and stuff, and it is like I could definitely see that. But to me, that was I went through John Cena a lot like I did Channing Tatum, where it's just like I didn't really like this guy, and then all of a sudden you realize that like, oh, they've got a great sense of humor and can poke fun at themselves, and then I'm all on board. It's like, oh, okay, you're not taking yourself as seriously as, one might think a wrestler who wants to be taken seriously as an actor. But, like, no, he'll get in his underpants and walk around and be a jackass, and that's why you kind of like him. He just goes, yeah, look, I'm in on the joke. I understand what all this is.
I think the first time I felt that way about him, though, was the Peacemaker role, but I haven't seen that Blockers movie. I mean, there's plenty of, as a rule, it doesn't go straight to the top of my list if it's a John Cena joint. So there's probably a lot of John Cena movies I haven't seen, but out of the ones I have, it's only Peacemaker that he's ever worked for me.
But yeah, he's really good in Blockers.
In Fast 9.
He's really good in Blockers, and he's even good in that one movie, Trainwreck. He's good in that too.
Yeah, like he's got a small part, but like again, you knew at that point he was like, oh, he can laugh at himself. All right, great. He's not just like, I'm going to be in the Marine and like, because his career kind of started off of like, I'm going to be the next action star, the next Stallone or Schwarzenegger or whatever. But just take me serious, and then he realized, oh, people don't necessarily want that from me, and that way, and when you can find that out about yourself real fast, that's the best thing. It's like you go, I can be me.
Look at The Rock's bank account and realize you don't have to be serious to make a ton of money.
No, exactly. You can just do whatever you want, and it's just like, hey, I'm playing the same guy, but that's what you wanted, so.
And I think that the director, I think James Gunn gets the best performance out of John Cena, because when I watched Fast 9, was that Justin Lin that directed that one?
I think so.
Yeah, I did not for 1 minute believe he was actually Vin Diesel's twin brother. Like, he just could not get that performance.
Well, yeah. Well, they also look at zero things like each other whatsoever, and that's you're like, what now?
There's a great line where some lady looks at him and says, "Oh, I absolutely see the family resemblance." And that's the best laugh I've had.
It's like you can see months. An IQ. How's that even possible?
With this, though, do you think we'll ever get to see his dad's vigilante/superhero costume?
Yes.
Yes. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a sight. It's going to be one of those like, man, I can't believe they went for that.
But I really do. I think that
you have to, right? You have to in some context.
And you've got Robert Patrick. I mean, he is down for whatever you're going to do. The dude was in Double Dragon, for God's sake. He's going to do whatever you want him to do. Go ahead.
Did James Gunn suggest that haircut, or do you think Robert Patrick just showed up that way?
That feels like a Robert Patrick.
Yeah, it totally feels like Chet from Weird Science. He just showed up like that, and they went with it.
Or his hair from Double Dragon just not dyed blonde.
What a wild like kind of career that Robert Patrick's actually had. Just take like the beautiful young man that he was in Terminator 2, and like how he's like, and I mean this in a loving way, he's now a great grizzled old man. You talk about a lot of breath between this and T2. Like that's a large swath for a guy to go through, and he pulls both off so well.
The craziest thing about Robert Patrick, too, is that when you watch him in those Terminator movies, one of the things, or in the Terminator movie that he's in, the second one, you honestly believe that guy can catch up to that car.
Yeah.
Because he legitimately was just a lightning fast runner. You can tell just by looking at him that he's a fast runner. Whereas any other time you have like Arnold isn't built for speed, and neither are any other Terminator we've ever seen. Whereas it's what made Robert Patrick work so well as that Terminator is it was a type of Terminator we had never seen before.
And he's like, I'm acting like a cat. That was his whole inspiration in T2, was like, move like a cat. And it worked. It absolutely worked.
Was he in Wayne's World or Wayne's World 2?
It definitely wasn't Wayne's World.
I think
Then it was Wayne's World 2, where he played the exact same character. The cop pulls him over, and he.
Oh, right. Have you seen this child? It is a picture of Eddie Furlong, right?
It is.
I think so. Do I look different? Oh man, I heard a story about that.
And and the crazy part is like that was a couple years later, and like just identical, absolutely identical. So good.
I like the police cars. I don't know if you guys paid attention to the police cars, because it's Evergreen is the name of the city, but it was Charlton County. So I like a little Easter egg dropped into Charlton Comics there, because
that's cool.
All too easy to forget Charlton Comics was a thing. And what do you guys think about the vigilante Adrian Chase? Because boy, this is a very different version of the vigilante compared to the comics.
So vigilante is a DC thing, right? They didn't buy vigilante from Charleston.
No, vigilante is a DC thing. There's actually two separate characters called vigilante in DC, and this is the second one. They're not really related to each other in any way, but Adrian Chase Vigilante showed up as the main sort of adversary for the Green Arrow in one of the Arrow seasons. And I'll just say it was a very different portrayal of Adrian Chase on the CW than we get here.
He doesn't work in a restaurant.
Yeah, but when he shows up here, all of a sudden, I now want to see Green Arrow show up in this Peacemaker show. Like, I want a James Gunn version of Green Arrow now.
How much do you think they let James Gunn into the vault of DC characters? Do you think that they let him do whatever he wants, or no?
I think so.
I think for the movies, he was told he could do pretty much anything other than Batman and Superman, probably. Mm-hmm. But for the TV show, probably not real deep in the vault. Like, he's probably in the CW secondary character vault. Like, he couldn't use the Flash, Green Arrow, any of the main people. But if they let him use Vigilante, he can probably use about anybody other than, the big three over there.
I think he'd also said, like, for the most part, like, they were like, we don't really care what you do. Just do whatever you kind of want to do. Do not feel like you have to be beholden to any of the other, DC properties or anything else like that. So it feels like they've at least realized, hey, this is a special guy. We ought to give him just, kind of carte blanche to do what he wants, because he's kind of got a pretty good record at it so far. So just let him let him kind of go. And if he feels like connecting it to something, that's fine. But if he doesn't, that's also not a big deal, because he's like, I'm not really interested in necessarily connecting back to all of these things or being referential in that kind of way. Which is good ultimately, because it lets you be you. And there's some, certainly some criticism in the Marvel universe of how it feels like they're always kind of trying to shoehorn in a little bit of something here or there where it may not necessarily fit, or are we just referencing to reference stuff? Who knows? So having someone who doesn't feel like they're being encumbered by, the big head honchos and stuff I'm certainly freeing to him, I would imagine.
But I think Vigilante and Judo Master are the only legit characters here. I think the rest are kind of show originals.
That's fine. Look, he can do whatever he wants as far as I'm concerned. He could have Superman show up. I don't care. The thing that I think that I'm more surprised, and I shouldn't be, the thing that I'm more surprised by is just how many people made the leap from the movie onto the show. Mm-hmm. Because everybody that's running information for him, you've got half of that cast is here in the show. Steve Agee, the blonde lady,
the blonde lady is James Gunn's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see.
Mm-hmm. So that might, I think the only two high profile things she's had are the Suicide Squad and this, but I could be wrong.
I see.
But
good for him. She's an attractive lady.
She is.
27 credits on IMDb, so she's been around.
Okay. She's done a lot of TV stuff.
Yeah.
Her role here, let's see, I'll read some of her roles. Bikini Girl, Candy, Jackie, Melanie, Nurse. Yeah, I think she's had smaller roles, like one episode appearances in shows.
Yeah, she holds her own, and that's kind of great, especially when you've got you know.
She was in Zombie Strippers. I'm gonna have to go check that out.
No, wait a minute, I may have seen that. You might not want to.
She was also in Brightburn, so yeah.
Okay, Brightburn was fine. Brightburn was all right. But no, she's really good, and I will say that's there are a couple, save for the one that was kind of obviously, you know, for lack of a better word, meta-human. That's some of the most insane things about this show is these 120-pound women kicking these 300-pound dudes.
Well, you already know I stay on record for how much I love that. But the thing that I was trying to drive, the point I was trying to drive to is that, you know, Steve Agee, he got the short end of the stick with the Suicide Squad, and basically, hey, we're going to give you your own show. You and John Cena are going to have your own show at this point because they are giving him a whole lot of work in this show.
And secretly, though, this is like low key Daniel Brooks's show.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting them to have like a daughter of Amanda Waller. I mean, it was pretty cool. And
it is.
I watched a little bit of Orange is the New Black. Like, I wouldn't call myself a devoted watcher deep in the lore, but she was a good character there, and I recognized her.
Yeah, I watched the first 3 seasons of that show, and she was one of those highlight characters that when she was on screen, she was just like, she's got just a commanding presence, and I was so glad to kind of see her here and get her some more work outside of that show that, you know, really fell apart after that.
And what a great concept for a show, like just exploring what in the heck would it be like to be Amanda Waller's kid, you know? So I love it that we're getting to see, like, they're answering a question that I'm dying to know the answer to, but never knew I wanted to ask.
It's true.
I love and there's so many little tiny James Gunn things here that kind of stick out. James Gunn is a giant animal lover. So seeing these dogs in the little costumes and stuff and all of those comments and everything, I know he just loves that. Same thing with I know that eagle won't, I'm like 99.99%. There's no way in hell that eagle's going to die. Because James Gunn, he's like I said, he's just a big time animal lover kind of dude.
Well, he even said it's one of the things that he needed to have with the show is that, you know, you had to show that Peacemaker isn't just this monstrous, terrible person. There's got to be something that you like about this guy, but I can't just give him a dog.
Yeah.
So what do I do? And so clearly the answer is we're going to give him a pet eagle. And you know, there is that one really great moment where Vigilante is in his apartment or his camper, and he goes, look, we're best friends. He goes, no, you're not my best friend. Eagly is my best friend. I mean, you can't help but like that guy after comments like that are made. It's really bloody clever.
And I love Peacemaker's trailer painted with the stars and stripes. And I love that his car looks like that car that my daughter saw at the Waffle House and thought belonged to the president that I forwarded to you guys. Like, it looks just like that. I love everything about how upbeat he is about his very depressing life. Like, he puts his patriotism on his single wide rundown trailer and his old car.
I also like how he has like 15 places for hide keys and they're all gone. It's little things like that. And by the way, speaking of James Gunn drops, I'm just like, I saw it in like 2 different places. One I can confirm 100%. The second one I'm fairly certain of. But his house, his little trailer there was it the house or is it the other house? I forget. It's one of the 2 houses. His or his dad's house is 1138. THX 1138.
Very nice.
And I think the
probably
truck,
not the trailer.
I think the truck that they were driving to also had a 1138 in it somewhere as well. So like, I know it's curious that I'm seeing a THX references in a couple of places. I don't know why or what it might mean, but I seen them.
James Gunn, you clever fella. You know, the underlying thing with this show, and I'm not going to say that I found this. This is again the James Gunn interview, is that he said that the major theme of this show is that, and I'm quoting here, Peacemaker's ideals are getting in the way of his happiness, and they are crushing him. And I was like, wow, what a great way to make this show. Like, that's exactly what this show needs to be. That's how you get from this character that we all kind of hated, except for Bruce, that we all kind of hated, to become a character that we actually like. and it's almost like a reverse Lokiism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they did a thing. They're doing a thing here that Loki did. It's just a lot dirtier and in my opinion, better. It's a better way to do it.
Well, ultimately, though, when you see a lot of the DC characters and like you can really just, at least I feel like you can point to the one big problem that they have is that like the characters themselves don't tend to be super interesting characters, don't have very interesting arcs or anything. What's Wonder Woman's arc been in two major films of her own and the other ones? It's not much of nothing. It doesn't really go anywhere. You don't have any conflict. You don't feel like you're changing any sort of characters. This feels like, oh, we're delving into, you know, the mind of this particular person and what their thoughts and processes are, as opposed to just having them be, I'm a hero or I'm the villain. It's, you know, he's a more complicated character than you might give early credit to, especially with the first film. But I think ultimately it's just I like it's just humorous, and that's like they're not shying away from any of that, but yet still keeping it the same kind of bloody pace that we've been used to with some James Gunn movies and stuff like that, and especially with that Suicide Squad, which was also like, you know, a fairly violent affair.
Oh yeah. And you know, we even spoke about this during the show. James Gunn writes the third act really well in 90% of his movies. So I'm wondering how the third act of this season is going to be, because it's been just a banger so far of the show. So I'm really looking forward to.
And it's only 8 episodes, so we're almost halfway already.
Yep.
Now, Bruce, with I don't know any of this. This butterfly stuff? Are you aware of any of this? Is this a new thing, or?
I mean, it's just a new name for
some sort of metahuman type thing.
I mean, it's a metahuman trope that's been used probably 100 times. But yeah, I think of like the nuclear family. If you're familiar with them, that's absolutely what I'm thinking about when I see the senator and his kids and stuff there inside that house. But this whole idea of the butterfly itself, that's kind of an original name as far as I'm aware. But it's a tropey concept.
Yeah, and it works.
Yeah, it's I love.
I do like how he said with Project Starfish, we had to fight a giant starfish. Does this mean I'm going to fight Mothra? And then everybody gets into the details of how to fight Mothra.
I also like that it's a Mothra, like I'm fighting a Dracula.
Do I get a jetpack?
It feels like there may be a jetpack somewhere in the future for the show. That's especially with all the crap that we saw in there. Lord knows there's got to be a jetpack somewhere in there.
My best friend in the entire world for the last 25 years gets so mad at me because he's like, there's only one Pegasus. There's the Pegasus. It's not like unicorns where they're everywhere.
Pegasus is the horse's name.
Oh, really? See, that's
Yes.
I don't know this. But then again, I'm not really the only Pegasus sort of stuff I know is the thing in that, what's that stupid game with the horse?
My Little Ponies?
No. Oh shoot, I forget the name of it. Oh crap!
There's
Peggle.
a horse game?
Yeah, no, Peggle. You know Peggle? You ever play that game?
Is this like a board game?
No, it's a video game where you got like little balls and you shoot them and smash other balls.
I
It's
don't
like
think this game exists.
Oh, it absolutely exists. Peggle people, hit us up. You know what it is. It's good. That's
Peggle
a good
people.
Game.
That's the name of the new podcast. Peggle people.
It'll be very short. It's like, you remember when you hit the orange blocks and then they like disappeared and stuff.
And they had a Pegasus in that?
I don't know. It's a horse with a thing on its face.
That's a unicorn.
Is it? Like I said, I don't know the difference between these things. Maybe there were wings on it. I don't really remember.
Is it like a Mike Tyson tattoo? Or?
No. Like in the
place with a thing on its face.
I'm looking at a picture that says Peggle and it has a unicorn on it.
All right, fair. Maybe it's a unicorn. Like I said, I think we've realized that I don't know the differences between a Pegasus and a unicorn.
Well, Pegasus has wings, a unicorn has a horn, and an alicorn has both a horn and wings.
Oh.
And
this
Twilight
explains
Sparkle's
why
an
I failed
alicorn
grades
princess.
in high school. Yeah. One of my favorite things also in this is Vigilante drives a Sebring.
Yes,
oh man, so
Vigilante
good.
mobile.
It's like,
That's
you can't
really
call
good.
it. Look, what am I going to do? Paint it up so they know that it's mine?
I love how the vigilante's so dedicated to keeping his mask on too, because we see the little menage a trois with Peacemaker, that one guy's wife, Amber, and Vigilante, and they're all naked save for Vigilante's mask. It looks kind of like a scuba mask. That's great.
I will say this though: if the only thing that a lady needs to get excited about you is your mutual love for Cinderella, I don't know that that's someone you may necessarily want to go after.
The one of the things James Gunn brought up was that on the set of the Suicide Squad, one of there was a line where John Cena was like, I don't think that I don't think that my character would like he's not homophobic. He is past homophobia. He's past all, like, he doesn't care what your sexuality is because he himself is so screwed up sexually that it just completely phases by him. And James Gunn was like, "Oh, I like that a lot better. Yes, please." And so John Cena added that
philosophy of the Todd from Scrubs. If you're right, that episode,
exactly.
But
an accurate depiction of a surgeon, if there ever was one.
Orthopedic surgeon, though, even though he was a general surgeon, he was pure orthopedic the way he acted.
We're gonna get the new Dr. Dan Do, who's an orthopedist, who writes in and just be like, "I am tired of all of this garbage and being thrown under the bus,
bro." That's all I say. Come at me, bro.
Yeah. I think when we first started going after Dr. Dan Do, he was probably a 15-year-old boy, and now he's probably 30.
Exactly. Well, yeah, that guy. Yeah, I didn't even start to think of the fact that Dr. Dan Do wasn't an actual grown adult doctor. Like, no, you're probably actually far more right that was a child who talked smack to us, and yet we treated it like it was a 55-year-old man.
No adult man is going to get on the internet and yell at some dumb podcast because they're not doing it right, talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
He was so mad.
He was so very mad.
Why? And you know what? You look back on the years and who was right.
My son just knocked on the door and said to tell him when he has too many action figures. I said, "Son, that's impossible. Physical impossibility."
That's the wrong person to ask.
He just got back from Atlanta and he walked in the door to say hi, so I had to mute you guys for a minute. But
yeah, talk to your mother. She's probably the right one to answer that question and not him. So just putting it out there. Did the internet connection go down? It might have. I don't know. Maybe I'm all alone now. Ultimately, I really like the show in these couple of episodes. Of course, yeah. There, I lost the internet connection. It's coming back any second now. There it is.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
I got stuck in a
Adam
vortex.
is the host.
It does.
I'm back.
But I don't hear Adam.
Can you not hear me?
Nor do I. Oh,
Here we go.
His mic is muted, I see.
No. Okay. Well, let me.
I bet he doesn't know that his mic is muted.
Oh, I can hear things. I just can't do anything about it.
Oh, well, maybe he muted it because I was talking to you and he didn't like it. So
no, I did it automatically. I don't know why. We lost connection, and then it goes, "Well, you know what? There's no one here. Let's mute your mic so when they come back, they'll be deathly confused."
Well, it's tradition whenever Adam mutes his mic that we say, "How could this television show possibly relate to the world's finest hemorrhoid, Sylvester Stallone?"
Thank you, Bruce. I have a prepared statement. Hello, Mr. Stallone. Half the cast of this show just worked with you on the Suicide Squad movie, so it doesn't exactly take a Gus Grissom to find the Stallone connection this week. For the sake of the argument, though, and because I like to keep things clean, we'll specifically make Jennifer Holland, who plays the role of Amelia Harcourt on the Peacemaker television show, our specific connection. Why Amelia Harcourt when there's literally 5 other people I could have chosen? For one reason, really. And no, not because she's dating James Gunn, but because Jennifer Holland was on an episode of a show I love talking about because I find it completely fascinating, that show being Rizzoli and Isles. A show that was on for 7 years, had 104 episodes, won a coveted People's Choice Award, and yet I don't know a single person who's ever watched an entire episode of it. I don't know who this show was made for, and I definitely didn't know that it's been off the air for 6 years now. There's so many things I just learned about the show. For instance, Mr. Stallone, did you know that this show is based on a series of books? Did you know that Winona Ryder was the first choice to play the role of Isles? Did you know that Jaleel White lobbied very hard for the role of one of the detectives on the show, but did not get the part?
Oh,
what a bummer.
I know, it's sad. There was an actor on the show that committed suicide. I didn't know that either. And did you know that the show takes place in Boston? All of this is true. And Jennifer Holland played the unforgettable role of foil bikini girl on an episode from 2010.
Not to be confused with that regular bikini girl that was in that episode.
Season 1, episode 4, she works hard for the money, minute 15:17. She has one line. Her line is, "We just finished finals." Amazing work. Amazing work. Little did she know that a scant 12 years later, she would be on a show where the guy from Terminator 2 plays a white supremacist, and John Cena has not one, but 2 dance numbers in the pilot episode. And there you have it, Mr. Stallone. This week's Stallone connection is actress Jennifer Holland. I'll attempt to do better next week. Your pal, Sweet Shanzi from the internet.
I was looking at her IMDb. I have seen Zombie Strippers. Do not watch that. It is so bad. Like, it is beyond bad. And, like, you know, when Tito Ortiz and Jennifer, what's her face is one of the, Jenna Jameson is one of the stars. Like,
boy,
it is not good, and not even like in a bad good kind of way. Just awful. Don't.
It sounds like Shark Exorcist bad.
It's maybe worse because none of those people can act, and you even want to go like, maybe there'll be some zombie ladies and whatever. No, just don't. It's not even worth that. It's just no, thank you. So let's kind of like, how many episodes are in this? I saw that James Gunn directed 6.
There's 8 episodes total.
8 total. So we're getting a little bit there, but so we won't give our official Robin rating. My guess is you boys would probably like to do like I would and review more of these episodes as
please.
Happen.
Definitely.
Strongly recommended is what I will say at this time.
You folks at home should watch along.
And I'll say this as well. It's looking good for James Gunn. I don't know if you know this or not, but the guy keeps getting some good work. So after this, I think he's doing either the Guardians holiday thing or right into the next Guardians movie. I'm not sure. Maybe they're both at the same time. Probably.
I think the holiday special is next, and then the final movie of his with the Galaxy.
And I'm not sure what the next thing is, but supposedly he's doing some more DC television type stuff. So maybe we may get another type of show somewhat similar to this or in some different vein or anything. I hope it's, the same yet different, I guess, based upon, kind of what we've seen and everything. But that guy's doing all right for himself, that James Gunn. I think he'll make it. But
oh man, he's writing. He's not directing, but he's writing and producing for Warner Brothers some project called Coyote versus Acme. It sounds like a legal drama.
in the world of courtroom dramas, we'll see. But did you know he storyboards most of his all of his movies? And everything.
I think you shared something with us. Yeah, I think you shared a stack of his storyboards.
I don't know how the guy does it, but he don't seem to stop working because he's gone from like thing to thing to thing. He's what were the Captain America directors and stuff? Those guys were
the Russos.
The Russos. He's got one of those Russo work ethics where it's just like, when do you have time to sleep, sir?
Well, I think what's going to happen with him is he's basically planning on going the Spielberg route where he's going to work his tail off for 10 years and then he's just going to coast and do what he wants to do.
Yeah, it's like, I'll fill this up with what I feel like, and then hey, if you're getting it this early in your career here and everything, he's still
once the swimming pool is filled with gold doubloons, he knows he can take it easy.
Yeah,
exactly.
We'll take it back a little bit. So go watch that. First 3 episodes are out on HBO Max right now. We'll be covering more of those in the future. We're not quite sure what we're doing next week. We didn't really talk about it pre-show, but until the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I'd like for people to check out a different YouTube channel, a channel other than mine. I'd like him to check out White Raven, which has some cool action figure reviews. So just look for White Raven action figure reviews, and you'll see some great ones on YouTube there. a nice Gojo figure from Jujutsu Kaisen, a nice review of Super Saiyan Rose Goku Black SH Figure Arts figure. Good stuff there, courtesy of my son who loves action figures.
Sean, what else?
We have another podcast called The Book of Boba Fett, 30 Questions. Please check that out. We talk about Boba Fett each episode. And, you know, we're honest about it. We're honest about our continued love of Star Wars, but it's not a perfect universe, not a perfect galaxy. Yeah. And check it out.
And Film Fun should be coming back this week. The Rona got me off for a little bit, but I got some stuff coming up because I definitely want to see this new Scream movie. I've heard a lot of good things, so you'll have my Scream review in not too awful long as soon as I can get that in there. So thank you to all you guys for supporting the Film Fund as well. That is it, everybody. Join us next week when we're doing who knows what for Sweet Sean's and Kovacs from the internet. Bruce Hussey, I'm Adam Porters. Stay super, everybody.
I'm Marty and Evie.
Robert's got a quick hand. Look around the room, he won't tell you his plan. He's got a rolled cigarette hanging out his mouth. He's a cowboy kid, yeah. He found a 6-shooter gun in his dad's closet, or in a box of fun things, and I don't even know what. But he's coming for you, yeah, he's coming for you. All the other kids with the palms up kicks, you better run, better run. I'll run my gun. All the other kids with the palms up kicks, you better run, faster than my bullet. All the other kids with the palms up kicks, you better run, I'll run my gun. All the other kids with the palms up kicks, you better run, faster than my bullet. Daddy works a long day. He's coming home late. He's coming home late, and he's bringing me a surprise. 'Cause dinner's in the kitchen and it's packed in ice. I've waited for a long time. Yeah, the slide of my hand is now a quick pull trigger. I'm reason with my cigarette and say your head was on fire. You must have lost your way.